Bocchi Hakase to Robot Shoujo no Zetsubouteki Utopia, or Lonely Professor and Robot Girl's Despair-like Utopia, is a cute, pretty funny manga that can also hit you right in the feels. I would describe it as a combination of a comedy slice of life manga, where we follow the two titular characters throughout their daily lives, accompanied by an exploration of loneliness, death and mortality, and happiness, all of which serve to push the plot forward. While the cover and title may make it look somewhat degenerative, it's really not that type of manga. But it doesn't hurt that Robot Girl is very cute, in both appearance and mannerisms, but maybe I just like her dry humor and curtness. For those who are already reading Sousou no Frieren, or Frieren Beyond Journey's End, this should be a pretty easy sell. The storywriter for that manga is Yamada Kanehito, who is the mangaka for Lonely Professor and Robot Girl. This was his most recent work prior to Frieren, and maybe it can tide you over while Frieren is on a month-long break. It has a bit of the same feeling of the transience of human life in comparison to things that last much longer, or beings that live much longer in the case of Frieren, where Frieren loosely explores the concept of the fear of time passing you by, and how she's trying to remedy that with how she spends her time now. Lonely Professor and Robot Girl loosely explores a fear of loneliness, amongst a couple of other things, and attempts to remedy them. Both have excellent first chapters, which put a little twist on things that, in my opinion, really launch their stories forward and out of generic territory. If you're already interested at all, I would just read the first chapter at least, because while spoiling things wouldn't really be a big deal, I think it'd be better to experience things firsthand from the manga as opposed to just me telling you. Lonely Professor and Robot Girl takes place in a post-apocalyptic setting, where the professor fears he may be the only survivor, and has only Robot Girl as his companion for social interaction. It masquerades as a pure comedy manga with single-page gags, which are pretty funny. The humor is very dry, especially since Robot Girl is pretty brutally honest and literal, which makes sense since she's a robot, obviously. And there's a decent bit of dark humor too. But then a plotline will come along that lasts more than just a page, and it can hit you like a truck. The professor was lonely even prior to the apocalypse, which is why he initially created Robot Girl, and now she's all he has left, and vice versa. He's aware of his own mortality and wants to return the favor before it's too late by both making Robot Girl happy and keeping her from experiencing the same loneliness. So he's constantly searching for other survivors to be her companions in the future. He looks after her like a father figure, trying to give her care, experience, and information that she needs before his time comes. I really enjoyed the sentiment that, at least I felt the manga conveyed. Loneliness would definitely be among my bigger concerns, and I think COVID lockdowns put a lot of people in lonelier places, which is apt considering the apocalypse in the manga is caused by a pandemic as well. I liked the way the manga dealt with loneliness, and whilst the professor initially deals with it unrealistically, by creating a whole-ass robotic girl, he comes to find both value in social interaction and his own meaning to happiness, as does Robot Girl. The professor spends his time to the fullest with Robot Girl, fulfilling her desires, because he knows it won't last. This is another aspect of the story I really enjoy, because while there are plenty of things the professor could be spending his time on, he knows he can never get this time back, and it's most important to him to use it to experience happiness with the one closest to him. To me, this brings back memories of Frieren's desires after the initial chapter. Lonely Professor and Robot Girl's Despair-like Utopia is by no means a masterpiece, but pound for pound, I think it's really good, and it may be impactful for you. It's a pretty short read at just 33 chapters, most of which are only 8 to 10 pages, so I see no reason not to give it a try. At least just the first chapter, especially since it's not really going to take any time out of your life. I'd also encourage you to read Frieren as well if you haven't, because it does an even better job at both the story and exploring the concept, which is time passing you by and realizing what you missed out on. I couldn't find an official English release of Lonely Professor and Robot Girl anywhere, so you'll have to sail the high seas if you want to read it. As for Frieren, it's coming out physically and digitally in English and other languages if you don't want to be a pirate. Mata ne.